Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock, which means it's time for another video. And today I'm going to be back. I'm back with a deep dive. Now, if you've not seen these on the channel before, the idea is simple. I take a particular person, a particular time in the magic world, something that happened, and I do a deep dive. I talk to you about everything that happened during the course of that person's career or during the course of that thing that happened. I really go deep into it. And then I try to analyze what lessons we can learn as magicians. This is one of the most popular videos that I do on the channel, and it takes a long time to put together, purely because I have to do a lot of research, and then I kind of have to really work out what it is that I'm going to be saying and how I'm going to be saying it. But I typically do these based on what you guys want to see. And what I mean by that is I ask you what you want to see deep dives on, and I put them together based on what you're interested in. And today I'm going to be doing a deep dive into a particular person, a particular performer. And so many people have asked me to do a deep dive on this particular performer. It's insane, and it took quite a while to put it together. But today I'm going to be talking about Criss Angel. Now, we all know that the magic community has kind of a love-hate relationship with Criss Angel, and today I'm going to be talking all about his career. Now, if you want to see another deep dive, if you would like to see another deep dive on this channel about a particular creator or a particular time in history in the magic community, then please let me know in the comments down below. I genuinely take all of your ideas, and that is what I use when I'm researching for this particular series on Magic TV. But without further ado, we're going to get straight into it. So today we are going to be talking about Criss Angel, the magician the magic world didn't want, but couldn't really ignore. Let's go for it. Okay, straight off the bat, I'm going to say to you that Criss Angel did something that most magicians never forgive. He became bigger than the approval of the magic community. While magicians were arguing about camera tricks and who's got the best double lift, and what rule FISM should have, whatever it is that we argue about online. While forums were full of complaints about stooges, and while people debated whether what he was doing was even real magic, the public made him a superstar. Not magicians, but the public. Mindfreak launched in 2005 on A&E. And he became one of the most recognized magicians in the world. To give you a very brief, abridged history of what he's done, after launching Mindfreak, he went on to even bigger success. He partnered with Cirque du Soleil in 2008. He headlined Las Vegas for years. In 2017, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So here's the real question. How did a magician that so many people in the magic community completely rejected become one of the most successful magic performers of his generation? And more importantly, what the hell can we learn from that? Well, in this video, you're going to find out. Chapter 1 would be called The Reality Before Fame. And in this chapter, we're going to kill the biggest myth straight away. Criss Angel was not created by television. He built himself. He was born as Christopher Nicholas Starenkos in 1967 in New York. And he got into magic as a kid. By his early teens, he was already performing professionally. He didn't go to college. He chose magic. And that's a pattern you're going to see through his whole career. He went all in, 100% deep dive, with no backup plan. In the 1990s, he started appearing on TV and working in theatre. Most importantly, he developed a stage show called Mindfreak. This is critical, because Mindfreak didn't start as a TV show. It started as a live theatrical production in New York. running for over 600 performances between 2001 and 2003. And before researching into this, I wasn't even aware of that. But this matters, and the reason it does is because it proves something. He already had an act. He already had a brand. Television didn't invent Criss Angel. It amplified him. And that's really important, because the amount of magicians that say, oh, he was just some sort of put together act for television and he's not a real magician. Honestly, this is a guy who really kind of worked his ass off to get everything he's got in this industry. And that's important. Now let's talk about the second chapter, and let's talk about the explosion. And specifically, we're going to talk about Mindfreak. Because in 2005, everything changed. Criss Angel's Mindfreak. The show made him unavoidable. Think about some of the things that you saw during that show. I know it was a few years ago now, but it was iconic. You saw him walking on water. You saw insane levitations, the like that you would never see before. Body transformations, public stunts, street reactions. I remember in the UK, when he first started, this video of him setting himself on fire in the middle of a street surrounded by people just would play on prime time over and over again. The type of magic that he did was designed for impact, and it worked. The show ran all the way through to 2010 and reached audiences worldwide. Now here's the key point. This is the bit that you need to understand. This wasn't just magic. This was editing, music, image, persona, atmosphere. Criss Angel wasn't selling tricks. He was selling a feeling. He was dark. He was dangerous. He was edgy. It was very, very different to everything else that was on TV at the time. And whether you liked it or not, he stood out because of that. So we've talked about why Criss Angel was popular. We've talked about what he did that caused him to really kind of explode into the general public. We've talked about why the general public really kind of gravitated to him and what made him stand out. But in this chapter, we're going to talk about why magicians hated it. See, we need to talk about this, and it is a little bit uncomfortable, because this is where the controversy lives. Here's the fact, undisputed fact. There was significant criticism from many parts of the magic community during the Mindfreak era. If you go back to the most popular forums that existed, kind of 2005 to 2010, you look at the Theory 11 forums, you look at the Magic Cafe, you'll see people talking constantly about how much they hated Criss Angel. He was a topic of conversation everywhere. Every single day, more threads would come up about Criss Angel. And here's the thing. The things that people mainly criticized were the use of camera edits, the use of stooges or controlled participants, blurring of live magic and TV production, and exposure concerns of exposure. Now, these criticisms are well documented in archived magic forums and discussed all of the time. And I remember going to Magic Live during this era when Criss Angel was at his biggest. And I remember being invited to a party, and I'm pretty sure it was Murphy's Magic that ran the party. And Criss Angel was there. And the thing that every single person was talking about was how Criss Angel was going to take over the magic world. He's already taken over he's already taken over on TV. He's going to take over the magic world. He's going to set up his own production company. He's going to make like Murphy's Magic obsolete. And that sounds ridiculous now, but that was a genuine concern. That was all anyone could talk about. Like, the community would talk about him all the time. And there were things that were said behind closed doors that were just simply not true. But rumor just spread like wildfire. Now, here's what was really going on. Criss Angel wasn't breaking magic. He was breaking the unwritten rules of magicians. You see, magicians are taught don't expose magic, don't rely on editing, don't fake authenticity. Criss didn't care about those rules. He cared about what looked impossible on screen. And that created a divide because magicians judge magic differently to the public. Magicians ask, how was that done? And the public asks, how did that make him feel? Criss focused entirely on the second. He was all about the impact on the audience that were watching at home on television. And because of that, he did things differently to how things were done before. And because of his use of editing and because of his use of stooges, magicians looked down on that. And they weren't happy. And we've seen this play out since. You know, I've seen these same criticisms levied at Dynamo over the years. And you know, I've been very open on this channel about how, what am I trying to say here? You know, we use the tools that we have in front of us to our advantage based on the environment in which we're performing in. So, for example, if you're sitting down at a table, you can lap. You can have things go into your lap. Now, most walk-around performers can't do that, and lapping allows you to perform some incredible magic. But all you're doing is you're taking advantage of that environment. So all Criss Angel did back at this point was he was taking advantage of the medium in which he was performing in. He was taking advantage of being a magician on television and being able to control that narrative. But honestly, and if you're if you're watching this video, comment down below if you remember this. At the time, people would hate Criss Angel because of that. Okay, let's talk about chapter 4, which I'm going to call it the style problem, because I need to be honest. When it came to magicians not liking him, his look didn't help. Leather, chains, dark aesthetic, rock music. He didn't look like a magician. He looked like a rock star that happened to do magic. And again, that was very, very, that was done for a reason. It was done to make him stand out. But here's the thing, it was important because image affects credibility. To traditional magicians that walk around making doves appear and wear a tuxedo, he didn't feel like magic. He felt like marketing, and that created resistance. But here's the flip side to the public. He looked like something new, and new wins attention. That's exactly what he did. He won attention. Now, in chapter 5, we're going to talk about the highs, the massive success that he had. Let's talk about what actually happened, because regardless of opinion, regardless of what the magic community think about Criss Angel or thought at that time about Criss Angel, the success is undeniable. He became one of the most recognized magicians in the world. He built a global brand. He moved into Las Vegas. In 2008, he launched the Criss Angel Believe show at the Luxor Hotel. And I remember going and watching that, and it was incredible. And it's huge. That's not just a gig, that's an institutional level success. Then he transitioned into Mindfreak Live, Planet Hollywood residency in 2019. And like I said at the very beginning, a Hollywood Walk of Fame star in 2017. That's mainstream validation. But even through all of this, even when Mindfreak ended, people didn't like Criss Angel. I remember going to see his show very early on and loving it. I thought it was an amazing show. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. But you know what? Most magicians at the time were saying how it was the worst show they'd ever seen, and it was terrible. And after seeing it, I was like, I can't understand why people would say that about this show. This show is not terrible. This show is absolutely incredible. This show is unlike anything that I've ever seen before. But even after Mindfreak ended, and he focused on live entertainment and doing a lot of very different things in Vegas, still the magic community hated him. I think it's a little bit like, have you ever heard that story about the monkeys? About how there's five monkeys in like a big sort of cage type thing, and the only way to get out is up this ladder. And one day, one of the monkeys goes to try and climb the ladder, and they squirt water at him. And all the other monkeys, and that happens every single time a monkey tries to climb up the ladder, all the monkeys get squirted water. So what happens is one of the monkeys tries to climb the ladder, and all the other monkeys beat up that monkey because they don't want to get squirted with water. Then they remove one of the monkeys and replace that monkey with another monkey. And that monkey starts to climb the ladder again, and all the other monkeys beat him up. And that continues to happen until that monkey gets the idea that you don't climb that ladder, right? And one by one, they switch the monkeys out until eventually you've got this cage full of monkeys that are all terrified about climbing the ladder, but have no idea why they're terrified because none of them remember the water in the first place. And I think it's a little bit like that with magic, and specifically with Criss Angel and the magic community. I think a lot of people these days in 2026 throw hate at Criss Angel. A lot of people throw hate at Criss Angel in 2026. And I don't think they even know why. I think they're just jumping on the bandwagon. I think it's just cool to say that you hate Criss Angel. But the bottom line is this is somebody who's done more to raise the profile of magic around the world globally than anyone else. I remember when they first announced Criss Angel for Blackpool, the Blackpool Magic Convention, just before COVID, and the amount of magicians that were like, "Oh, Criss Angel, bleh." I'm like, why would you not want Criss Angel at Blackpool? He's a bona fide superstar. He's done so much for the magic community. It's just crazy. I think that magicians just hate him now just because it's something that they've always done. But the bottom line is almost every single magician in the world that throws shade on Criss Angel, every single magician in the world that hates him, they wouldn't even be able to achieve 0.5% of what he's achieved in his career. And that's interesting. That kind of says something to me. Okay, chapter 6, the crash. And here's the thing, what goes up must come down. No story is just up, 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 up. There's highs and there's lows, right? And now we hit the low point. And this is crucial because without this, the story isn't honest. But when Believe opened in 2008, the reviews were brutal. The Las Vegas Review Journal called it unbelievably bad. Other critics said the magic was lost. The show was confusing. The circ elements overwhelmed the magic. The fact is, early reviews of Believe were widely negative. And this is what happens when hype exceeds clarity. Criss Angel worked perfectly on TV, but theatre is different. The audience isn't edited and the camera isn't controlled. The moment is real. And that transition exposed weakness. And in this case, he bet everything on the Believe show. And the Believe show started off as being a complete flop. But that's where the story gets interesting. Because, and this is something that we can learn from Criss Angel, most magicians that get to the point where they open their own Las Vegas show, if they got the reviews that Criss Angel was getting from the mainstream media, they would curl into a ball and you would never hear them again. But Criss Angel didn't disappear. He adapted. His show was completely reworked, improved and refined, and he kept going. And this is something a lot of magicians ignore because it doesn't fit the narrative. They want to shout from the rooftops, he failed. But that's not true. He struggled, absolutely. He went through a lot of shit. But then he adjusted. And then he continued. And that's a very different story. Okay, in this chapter, I want to talk about bullshit. No, not Penn and Teller's bullshit. Something completely different. Criss Angel didn't go the Penn and Teller route of skepticism. He went in the opposite direction. He lent into spectacle, persona, emotional intensity. He wasn't trying to prove that magic was fake. He was trying to make it feel real. And that's the key psychological difference. You see, when he came into Las Vegas, he needed to stand out. There were so many amazing magic acts. You got Penn and Teller, you got David Copperfield, to name just a couple. And so he needed to stand out. He needed to look different to anyone else. He wanted to make sure that he was unique. And so he lent into everything that made him unique. And the other thing that's defined Criss Angel over the years is his ability to reinvent. See, Criss Angel didn't just stop at Mindfreak. He opened up so many shows. Criss Angel's Believe, Tricked Up, Magic with the Stars. He also launched his own touring shows like The Supernaturalists, and later repositioned himself with things like Raw, the Mindfreak Unplugged, which is interesting because it moves towards a smaller scale and more intimate magic and less spectacle. And that's evolution. He didn't just have one idea and ran with it until it was dead in the water. He was constantly coming up with new ideas, constantly reinventing himself, constantly trying to push in different directions. You see, from the outside looking in, and I don't know Criss Angel personally, and I don't think I ever will, but from the outside looking in, he seems like he's very entrepreneurial. He's always looking for a new opportunity to establish his brand, to go in a different direction, to try and capture a new audience. And that's important and very, very different. Something very unique about that you don't see a lot of magicians do. And then on top of all of that, you've got the personal side, the human side. One thing that he's done, especially in his latter years, is he's been very honest about things that have made him appear more human to his fans. He talked openly about his father's illness deeply affecting him, and the same with his son becoming very, very ill. He became heavily involved in charity work connected to pediatric cancer. Criss Angel has publicly supported pediatric cancer causes and fundraising. And this matters because it adds dimension, and dimension changes how you view a career. So here's the real lesson. Here's the truth. Criss Angel exposed a problem. The magic community and the public do not judge magic in the same way. Magicians want purity, they want method, they want technique, whilst the public wants impact and emotion and scale. Criss chose the public, and that's why he became huge. Okay, so in the final chapter, we're going to talk about what magicians can learn from Criss Angel. And this is what I think that we can learn. I think these are the 5 biggest lessons. Number 1, the audience matters more than magicians. If you want to become famous in this industry, you can become famous within the magic community, within a very small niche. You can be you can be a public figure within a small niche, absolutely. But if you want to be big, if you want to be famous, if you want to be biggest of the biggest, then you have to play everything towards the general public and almost switch off what magicians care about. Lesson number 2 is that brand is as important as skill. We've talked about this before on the channel, but it's very, very important to understand that, some of the best magicians in the world aren't necessarily the most skillful magicians. The most skillful magicians in the world you probably never even heard about, and the general public definitely won't have heard about. But the names that come up again and again and again are people that have really mastered the art of branding, mastered the art of putting themselves into a position where everybody recognizes who they are and what they do. Lesson number 3, big risks are the only way to really push forward. And I've talked about this before on the channel. Risk taking is really important. And I've taken lots of risks through my career. The bottom line is, not every single risk that you take will pay off. Some of them will, some of them won't. But not all of those risks will pay off. But I've always been of the mindset of I would rather look back and look at a situation and go, you know what, at least I tried, rather than looking back and going, well, if only I had. My attitude towards risk is you look at the best possible scenario and you look at the worst case scenario. If you can live with the worst case scenario, but the best case scenario is amazing, then absolutely go for it. And Criss Angel has taken so many risks through his career. Not all of them have paid off, but he wouldn't be where he is if he hadn't taken any risks. He probably wouldn't have even made it on TV. And talking about TV, lesson number 4 is television magic is a different art form. Look, a lot of magicians talk about how they want to be TV magicians. But when you want to be successful at television, you have to approach it in a completely different way. And your values and what's important to you, you might need to question as that's the right way to go with it. And look, I'm just talking about it purely from a speculative point of view. I've never really had a career on television. But I know lots of friends who consult with TV magicians, and I know the type of magic that they create. And it's very, very different to what somebody would do in the real world. If you want to stand out, you have to use every aspect of that medium to further your brand, really. And that means sometimes doing things that you wouldn't do outside of television. And lesson number 5 is you can still be criticized and still win. And this is a big one, especially for me. You know, I've been very, very open in the past about how I've really struggled sometimes with feedback that I've had online. And it's really affected me mentally, I'll be honest with you, it really has. And I would be in a much better place if I let that stuff just wash over me and I didn't let it bother me. But, you know, I do. And it's a struggle every single day to try and ignore the stuff that's said online. I try my best, but sometimes it's difficult. But what Criss Angel, nobody within this industry has had as much hate as Criss Angel, both externally and also within the magic community. But you know what? He's still got a career that most magicians, pretty much every single magician on the planet, other than 1 or 2, would dream of having. And he's done that despite having all of that criticism. So, you know, you can be criticized and you can still win. You have to have the right mindset. So to summarize, Criss Angel is not universally loved, and he never will be. That's the point, because he didn't build his career on approval. He built it on impact. And whether you like him or not, he forced magic to evolve. He forced magicians to ask uncomfortable questions, and he proved something most magicians don't want to admit. You don't need the backing of the magic community to become a global star, and that is why he matters. If you're sitting here and you're a young magician with your career ahead of you, and you want to be a global megastar and you think that you never will be, you can. You absolutely can. And you can do it without the magic community. But you have to have that right mindset. You have to have that never say die mentality. You have to put 110,000% in every single day. And you have to know exactly what you're wanting to achieve. And you have to push 100% of the time every single day to go and achieve that goal. And if you do that, there's nothing that can stop you. So there you go. That's what we can learn from Criss Angel. Now, it's over to you. I want to ask you 2 questions in the comments down below. The first question is, what do you think? Do you like Criss Angel? Do you hate him? And if you do hate him, why do you hate him? Because you can't deny that he's done more for this industry and elevating magic than most magicians will ever do. And second of all, who would you like to see a deep dive on next? Or what would you like to see a deep dive on next? Let me know in the comments down below. Outside of that, I want to say thank you very much for joining me on Magic TV. Don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and I will be back again with another video very, very soon. Don't forget to join the Netrix. It's my online streaming platform for magicians. It's thenetrix.com. I'll see you again. Thanks for watching. My name's Craig, and you've been watching Magic TV.